I keep my goals to myself, cause whenever I share it with folks, they get a look upon their face and their memory floats to a time where their goals and the stars.
What's good? We're going to get into TNA Impact from March the 26th, 2026. This was an okay show. This was the go-home show to tomorrow's Sacrifice. And we will talk about predictions for Sacrifice. And as per usual, we will get into the ratings. So, the ratings for last week's show, which was March 19th, drew 250K viewers. So they were down from the previous week. And they earned a 0.04 in the 18 to 49 demographic. So they've stayed consistent with that. That's fine. So makes sense. Again, TNA still is doing fairly well on AMC. AMC has really done wonders for TNA. It's done wonders for the product. Way better than anything they've ever done on Access or probably like Destination America, maybe even Pop TV, those dark days. But AMC has really been a godsend for TNA, and they've done fairly well from that atrocious debut episode back in January. So they've come pretty far, because ever since their second episode of TNA Impact back in January on AMC, they've been doing fairly well in the ratings. Fairly well. So kudos to TNA. All right, let's go ahead and get into the show. So we kicked the show off with the first match of the night. Mustafa Ali defeated BDE. Brendan does everything. So he gets the win via Dance with the Devil, which is pretty cool. It's like almost like a spinning back suplex kind of thing. But he does it within the ropes. So that was pretty cool there. I like that. So post-match, the rest of the Order 4, the Great Hands, they jumped Rich Swann. Trey Miguel came out to make the save, but he got taken out by Order 4. Jetta Stone, she showed up to make the save. She gave Mustafa Ali a Hurricane Runner from the top rope. And then she also took out the Great Hands, and then Agent Zero was about to go for the choke slam. But Trey came out and made the save. So that's fine. I like that. It's pretty interesting. Again, I don't know why Mustafa Ali is still with Order 4. Hopefully, we get Mustafa Ali versus Trey Miguel at Rebellion, which is in 3 weeks. So we don't have too much time to build from Sacrifice to Rebellion. So, there's that. It's fine. I don't know where you go with this. Hopefully, we get a pretty lengthy feud between Trey Miguel and Mustafa Ali. We should get 3 matches out of them. Even if Mustafa Ali loses, you kind of need to move him up on the card, basically. Maybe have him go after Mike Santana again. I know that they had a feud a good bit last year, and it started like late 2024. So you kind of might want to bring that back. I mean, Mike Santana needs credible heels outside of Steve Maclin and Nick Namath. So hopefully they can figure something out. But again, that's the problem with TNA. That's the problem. They don't have a good roster. I mean, storylines are there and everything else, but they don't have a good roster. Their roster is kind of shit. Outside of, the Hardys and Mustafa Ali, Elijah, Nick Namath. You know, they don't really have anybody. All right, moving on. This leads us into Gia Miller. She had a backstage interview with Mike Santana and Leon Slater. So they talked about their upcoming matches, including teaming up to take on the System later on. So Daria Ray showed up. She interrupted, and she said that if Mike Santana would have to vacate the title if he lays a finger on Steve Maclin before their match is sacrificed. And she said that there was already a tournament in place, and then that was it. I'm like, what the hell? Why would there be some lame tournament if Mike Santana put his hands on Steve Maclin? That's dumb. And I think she was just lying out of her ass. I mean, talking out of her ass, basically. Because they have no credible contenders outside of Nick Namath and Mustafa Ali, Steve Maclin. You don't really have any guys. Jeff Hardy as a babyface. But, I mean, you don't have like any credible guys for Mike Santana to really go after and deal with. But it is what it is. Moving on. This leads us into Jeff Hardy. He defeated Brian Myers. Didn't care about this. Jeff Hardy gets the win via the Swanton Bomb. Post-match, the System, they show up. They jump the Hardys. Then the Righteous, they show up to make the save. And then this led into a brawl briefly. Then this led right into Moose defeating Bear Bronson. Moose wins via a spear. The NFL players, some of the Falcons were there. They got involved because the System tried to show back up towards the end of the match. Moose ended up hitting a spear for the 1-2-3. Who cares? Whatever. Don't really care about this. Moving on. This leads us into Mara Shade. She had a backstage interview with Gia Miller. So Mara said that she was looking forward to beating Elena Black at Sacrifice. So the interview abruptly ended. They went and did another angle. So Mara, she received a note that said follow the White Rabbit. Mara followed someone into in a bloody rabbit costume up the stairs. And another person watched as Mara went up the stairs. Okay, we got it to be continued. I have no idea what the fuck this means. This is kind of weird, if we're being honest. I don't know what they're doing here. Moving on, this leads us into the System. They had a backstage promo on the steps. On the stairs. So Bear Bronson told Moose that this wasn't over. Brian Myers talked about an upcoming tag team title shot. Eddie Edwards said that Moose was the face of the Forgotten in the System with the foundation of TNA. And he told Alicia, his wife, to stay away from Moose. Cedric talked about facing Mike Santana and Leon Slater in the main event. And then that was it. And then the Righteous, they showed up. I don't care about any of this. Moving on. Tessa Blanchard and company, they defeated Jody Threat, Harley Hudson, and Myla Gray. So, I forgot what the name of their faction is for Tessa Blanchard. But, Victoria Crawford, a.k.a. Alicia Fox, she's in this thing along with Mila Moore. So, this is fine. And apparently, Mila Moore was trained by by Ace Steel. So that's cool there. Again, Tessa getting the win is fine. She wins via the buzzsaw. That's fine. Whatever. Tessa has fallen from grace, man. She's fallen from grace. I don't know what the hell they're doing with Tessa. It's dumb as shit. I don't know, man. Whatever. This leads us into Rosemary. She was on the show again. We had another skit. This one is called Wrath. Well, it was called Wrath. Rosemary said that they owed Johnny Bravo. So Crazy Steve showed up. He hadn't been in TNA in months. I thought he may have worked for like MLW or NWA or whatever, but he came back to TNA and said that Rosemary now has time for him. So Allie, she appeared and introduced herself to Steve. Steve told Rosemary that she knows what it's been like for him. Steve told Rosemary that this life is a joke, and he said that Rosemary tossed him aside and left him down there to rot. I have no idea what he means by that. So Crazy Steve said he needed something from her to free himself from this place. Rosemary told him to serve their bond and free his mind, and then she kissed him on his head, and then that was it. I'm like, what the hell does this even mean? Like, what the fuck does any of this shit mean? Like, what are they doing here? This is interesting, but again, I like it, but what are they doing? Like, what's the end goal to this shit? What's the actual end goal, man? It's interesting, though, because you can only get away with this stuff in TNA. Triple H will not dare touch it in WWE. And we know Tony Khan wouldn't do anything like this either in AEW. So TNA is good when it comes to stuff like this anyway. Like, they've always done supernatural stuff very, very well, for being honest. Especially with Rosemary. So, there's that. Moving on. Eric Young defeated Brad Attitude. Who cares? I didn't watch this. Eric Young wins via the power driver. I don't care. Make this fucker a producer. Please. Get him off television. Enough. I have no idea why TNA continues to push Eric Young. It makes no sense. Moving on. Matt Hardy, he's backstage. He was beaten down pretty bad. So Jeff Hardy and the Righteous, they were there. Matt Hardy said he got attacked from behind, so I'm guessing it was the system. All right, whatever. Who cares? Moving on. This leads us into Buff Bagwell. He showed up. He got a pretty good reaction. He thanked God for his journey, and he talked about his recent amputation. He apologized to the fans for his behavior over the last 20 years. He said if the fans support him, he'll walk down that aisle and wrestle for TNA one more time. So the fans cheered. Frankie Kazarian, sorry I showed up, tried to get cheap heel heat. And he said that Buff Bagwell wasn't walking anywhere and maybe he could hop. Frankie continued to insult Buff Bagwell. Frankie said Buff Bagwell was half the man he used to be. And Frankie took twice the man that Buff ever was. So Elijah showed up. He ran off Frankie. Elijah said no one could stop Buff from living out his dream. Elijah said he hopes that he can share a moment with Buff one day, and then he raised Buff's hand. Okay, that's fine there, I guess. This is pretty interesting. I like this, but I'm not a fan of this Frankie Kazarian Elijah feud that they got going on, that they're trying to cook up. Shit's trash, but it is what it is. But it's great to see Buff Bagwell back, and he's in good spirits and everything, so that's a blessing. That's great. So Buff Bagwell is in our thoughts and prayers. Glad that he's back, though. Glad that he's back. That's a blessing. Moving on. This leads us into Santana Marella. He said that Matt Hardy is not clear for sacrifice. So the Righteous, they showed up, and they wanted to... Well, Vincent wanted to be in Jeff Hardy's place, which is fine. And so Santana Marella makes the match official. Whatever. So, whatever. Moving on, this leads us into Dani Luna. So, she talked about finally getting her TNA Knockouts title shot at Sacrifice, and she already beat Lei Ying Lee, a.k.a. Xia Li, and she said that Ariana Grace is a fluke, and she vowed to win the title. Okay, that's fine. I like Dani Luna. She's great. I have no idea what they're going to do with her. We know she's not going to win the Fatal 4-Way at Sacrifice, so I don't know. Although she should be the one who gets the title back at some point, but it won't be her. It'll probably end up being Mara Sade, or, God forbid, Indy Hartwell. Oh my God, no. I hope I didn't speak that into the universe. I hope that doesn't happen. Indy Hartwell is trash. I used to like Indy too. I used to like her, but ever since she had that awful match with Tessa Blanchard last year, nah, I'm not a fan of Indy Hartwell anymore. Not a fan. It's time for TNA to move on from Indy. But if you want someone to take the title off of Ariana, Mara Sade is your girl. She's your girl to do it. Moving on, this leads us into the main event of the evening. The System, Eddie Edwards and Cedric Alexander, they defeat Mike Santana and Leon Slater, which pissed me off. Steve Maclin showed up, got involved. He took out Leon Slater. He got into the face of Mike Santana. Mike Santana went back into the ring and ate a Boston knee party for his troubles. Eddie Edwards gets the win 1-2-3. That really pissed me off. Eddie Edwards should not have won the match at all, period. You really should have had Maclin kind of come in and cause a DQ, basically, where he would have attacked Leon Slater, and that's how the System wins. You know, they win via DQ, but not a visual pinfall over Mike Santana. Nah, not a fan of that. Not good. But it is what it is. Whatever. All right, let's get into predictions. TNA Impact, was okay. So, it's going to be in Louisiana. It's going to take place at the El Rio Center. And that seats basically full capacity, just 2,400 people. I would expect that many people show up anyway. So, there's that. So we have 10 matches on the card, which is too much, but not really, because you've got 2 matches on the pre-show and 8 matches on the card, on the main card. So Ryan Nemeth versus BDE. BDE is going to win that, and that'll probably take place on the pre-show. The Hometown Man and Elijah versus Frankie Kazarian and AJ Francis. That should take place on the pre-show, but that'll probably take place on the main show. Who wins? I don't care. I'm going to go with Elijah and Diener, even though I'm not a fan of anyone in the match outside of Elijah. Moving on, Vincent and Jeff Hardy versus Brian Myers and Cedric Alexander. Vincent and Jeff Hardy. Elena Black versus Mara Sade. No DQ. Mara Sade needs to win this, obviously. Get her win back. So that's what needs to happen. Because I would like for her and Elena to feud over the Knockouts title, right? At some point. Moving on, the order for Mustafa Ali and Tasha Steelz versus Trey Miguel and Jada Stone, intergender. I'm going to go with Trey Miguel and Jada Stone winning. Don't care about this. This is something that can happen on TNA. Moose versus Eddie Edwards. Who cares about this shit? I'm going to go with Eddie Edwards winning. Alicia Edwards is going to turn heel on Moose anyway and align with her husband. I mean, come on. We can see it a mile away. Moving on from that. Triple threat match for the Knockouts world title. Ariana Grace, Danny Luna, and Lei Ying Lee. Ariana Grace is going to win this. Why would she lose? She just won the title not too long ago. So, there's that. She won it back in Genesis, so she's had it for 2 months. They're not going to give her a transitional reign like that. She'll probably lose the title probably around May or whatever. So, yeah. Moving on. Leon Slater versus Eric Young for the X Division Championship. Eric Young's getting this because he won the Feast or Fired. So, whatever. Leon Slater's going to retain this. Why would he lose? Moving on, Tessa Blanchard versus Jody Threat. Tessa Blanchard. And main event, Mike Santana versus Steve Maclin for the TNA World Championship, Mike Santana. So, those are my predictions. Sacrifice is a very weak card. It's a very, very weak card, man. It's not good. Again, the problem with TNA is their roster. They've got to bring in more people. They got to. Hopefully we get some surprises because TNA needs them like nobody's business. If we don't get surprises here, we should get some heading into Rebellion and at Rebellion. We've got to bring in new talent. We got to. TNA's got to get better. They've got to bring in new talent. They've got to. They got to try. I get it. You're in competition with AEW and with WWE, but you got to do what you got to do. You got to bring in new blood. But TNA Impact was okay for the most part. Sacrifice, hopefully it's an okay show, but I'm not really excited for really anything on the card, really, for being honest. So, yeah. But what do you guys think of TNA Impact, and what are your predictions for Sacrifice? Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.